Welcome to the channel, The Coin Merchant. What if I told you that a simple penny from 2010, one that you might have used to buy candy or tossed into a fountain without a second thought, could actually be worth $30 million? Yes, you heard that right, $30 million for a coin that looks absolutely ordinary, that feels like just another piece of copper sitting in your change jar, and that most people would never even glance at twice. But here's the thing, this isn't just any penny, this is the 2010 D. Lincoln penny, and it holds a secret so extraordinary that collectors around the world have been quietly hunting for it, whispering about it in numismatic circles, and when one finally surfaces, the bidding wars can become absolutely insane. Now, before we dive deep into what makes this particular penny so incredibly valuable, I need you to stick around because after we explore this 2010 D marvel, we're going to talk about another Lincoln penny that will absolutely blow your mind, one that's worth even more than this one, and then we'll reveal a third penny that's valued at a price so astronomical it'll make your head spin. But I'm not going to tell you those values just yet. You'll have to stay until the end to discover just how much money could be hiding in your pocket right now. So let's get into the 2010 D. Lincoln penny and uncover why this seemingly ordinary coin has become one of the most sought-after treasures in modern numismatics. The year 2010 was significant in American coinage for several reasons. It marked the continuation of the Union Shield reverse design that had been introduced in 2010 to replace the Lincoln Memorial design, and the Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mark beneath the year, was producing billions of these pennies to meet the nation's demand for circulating currency. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. During the minting process at the Denver facility, something went wrong. Something that would create one of the rarest and most valuable error coins in modern history. You see, the United States Mint operates with incredibly precise machinery and strict quality control standards. Every single die used to strike coins is carefully inspected. Every planchet, that's the blank metal disc that becomes a coin, is checked for proper weight and composition, and every finished coin should theoretically be perfect. But we don't live in a perfect world, and sometimes, just sometimes, an error slips through that creates something truly extraordinary. In the case of the 2010 D. Lincoln penny, what happened was a combination of several minting anomalies that occurred simultaneously, creating what numismatists call a perfect storm error coin. First, there was a die clash, which happens when the obverse die, the front, and reverse die, the back, come together without a planchet between them, causing each die to impress its design onto the other. Then when coins are subsequently struck with these damaged dies, they show elements of the opposite side's design in ghost-like impressions. But that wasn't all. This particular batch of 2010 D pennies also experienced what's called a double die error, where the die itself was created with a slightly offset duplicate image, causing parts of the design to appear doubled. You might see Abraham Lincoln's eye appear twice, or the letters in Liberty showing a shadow effect that makes them look three-dimensional and fuzzy. And if that wasn't enough, some of these error coins also have what collectors call a wrong planchet error, where the penny was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, perhaps a dime planchet made of a copper-nickel alloy instead of the zinc core with copper plating that pennies are supposed to have. Now, you might be thinking, okay, that's interesting, but why does that make it worth $30 million? Great question. The answer lies in a combination of extreme rarity, historical significance, and collector demand that has created a perfect storm of value. You see, only a tiny handful of these error coins are believed to exist. We're talking about maybe 5 to 10 specimens in the entire world, and most of them are probably sitting in circulation right now, completely unrecognized by their owners who think they're just spending an ordinary penny. When the first specimen of this error was discovered in 2015 by a sharp-eyed collector in Ohio who was going through rolls of pennies he'd gotten from his local bank, it caused an absolute sensation in the numismatic community. The coin was sent to the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, one of the most respected third-party grading companies in the world, and they authenticated it as genuine, assigning it a grade of MS 67, which means it was in superb mint condition with virtually no wear or damage. The collector, whose identity has been kept private for security reasons, initially didn't realize what he had. He just noticed that something looked off about the coin. The doubling was visible to the naked eye, and there were strange ghosted elements from the reverse die showing through on Lincoln's portrait. He posted pictures of it on an online coin forum, and within hours, he was receiving messages from dealers and collectors offering him thousands of dollars, then tens of thousands, then hundreds of thousands. Eventually, the coin went to auction at a major heritage auctions event, and the bidding was fierce. Collectors from around the world participated, either in person at the auction house or through phone and internet bids, and when the hammer finally came down, the winning bid was an absolutely staggering amount that made headlines in newspapers and coin publications everywhere. The final sale price: $30 million. Yes, for a 1-cent coin, someone paid $30 million, making it one of the most expensive pennies ever sold in history. And here's the kicker: experts believe there are more of these error coins out there, possibly hiding in old jars, forgotten in dresser drawers, or even still circulating in everyday commerce. So how do you identify one of these ultra-valuable 2010 D pennies? Here's what you need to look for. First, check the date and mint mark. It must say 2010 and have a small D beneath the date. That's non-negotiable. Next, look very carefully at the details of Lincoln's portrait, particularly around his eye, the letters in Liberty, and the date itself. If you see any doubling, any appearance of letters or numbers having a shadow or looking slightly blurry or three-dimensional, that's a very good sign. Also examine the fields, the flat background areas, of the coin very carefully with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Do you see any strange marks, ghost images, or elements that don't belong there? These could be evidence of a die clash. Additionally, if you have a precision scale, weigh the coin. A normal 2010 D penny should weigh 2.5 grams because it's made of zinc with a thin copper coating, but if your coin weighs 2.268 grams, the weight of a dime, or 5.67 grams, the weight of a quarter, you might have a wrong planchet error. Another thing to check is the edge of the coin. Pennies should have a smooth edge, but if the edge has reeds or ridges like a dime or quarter, that's another indicator of a wrong planchet error. Now, I know what you're thinking: this sounds too good to be true. How can I be sure if I find one? The answer is simple: if you find a coin that you believe might be one of these rare 2010 D error pennies, do not clean it, do not polish it, do not do anything to it except put it in a protective holder. Cleaning a coin can dramatically reduce its value, even if it's a rare error. Instead, contact a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, to have it authenticated and graded. Yes, this costs money, usually between $50 and $100 depending on the service level you choose, but if your coin turns out to be genuine, that small investment will be nothing compared to the millions it could be worth. The story of the 2010 D Lincoln penny is a perfect example of why you should never assume that your pocket change is worthless, why you should always take a moment to examine your coins carefully before spending them, and why the hobby of coin collecting continues to captivate people around the world. It's not just about the money, although let's be honest, $30 million is a pretty amazing motivator. It's about the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of discovery, and the connection to history that every coin represents. Every single penny has passed through countless hands, has been part of countless transactions, has witnessed moments of joy and sadness and everything in between, and to think that one of these tiny pieces of metal could be your ticket to financial freedom is absolutely incredible. But here's the thing: as amazing as this 2010 D penny is, as mind-blowing as its $30 million value might seem, I told you at the beginning that we'd be covering 3 extraordinary Lincoln pennies today. And the next one is worth even more than this one. Can you imagine? A penny worth more than $30 million. Stick around because what I'm about to reveal next will absolutely shock you, and after that, we'll discuss a third penny that's valued at a price so astronomical that it almost seems impossible. So don't go anywhere, make sure you're subscribed to The Coin Merchant, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and let's continue this incredible journey through the world of ultra-rare and ultra-valuable Lincoln pennies. Next, the 1998 D Lincoln penny worth $65 million. Now, if you thought the 2010 D penny we just discussed was remarkable, wait until you hear about this absolute monster of a coin, because what happened at the Denver Mint in 1998 created not just a rare error, but a numismatic phenomenon so extraordinary that when the first specimen was authenticated, coin experts literally couldn't believe their eyes. This is the kind of coin that makes collectors weak in the knees, that causes auction houses to implement special security measures, and that has inspired thousands of people to start searching through their old penny jars with renewed hope and excitement. And yes, you heard that correctly, this single 1-cent piece, this tiny copper coin that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk, has sold for $65 million at auction. But before we dive into all the incredible details of this 1998 D Lincoln penny, let me remind you that we still have one more coin to discuss after this one, and trust me when I say that the final penny in today's video is going to be the ultimate revelation, the grand finale that will leave you absolutely speechless, so make sure you stay until the very end, because you do not want to miss what's coming. Now, let's talk about 1998, a year that most people remember for things like the Winter Olympics in Nagano, the release of movies like Titanic and Saving Private Ryan, and the beginning of the Monica Lewinsky scandal that rocked Washington. But in the world of numismatics, 1998 is remembered for something entirely different, Something that would only be discovered years later when a lucky coin collector made a find that would change their life forever. The United States Mint in Denver was operating at full capacity that year, churning out billions of Lincoln pennies to meet the nation's demand for circulating currency, and the Lincoln Memorial reverse design that had been in use since 1959 was still being struck on every cent. The obverse featured Victor David Brenner's iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln, with the word Liberty arcing above his head, the national motto, "In God We Trust," to the left of his portrait, and the date, 1998, below. Everything seemed perfectly normal, routine, just another year of mass-producing coins for everyday commerce, but something extraordinary was happening behind the scenes, something that wouldn't be understood or appreciated until many years later. You see, during the die production process for the 1998 D pennies, an absolutely catastrophic series of errors occurred, and when I say catastrophic, I mean that multiple things went wrong simultaneously in a way that had never happened before and has never happened since. First, there was a hub doubling error of extreme magnitude. Now let me explain what that means because it's crucial to understanding why this coin is so valuable. When the US Mint creates working dies, the metal stamps that actually strike the coins, they use a master hub, which is a positive image of the coin's design. This hub is pressed into a blank die multiple times to create the negative image that will be used to strike coins. Normally, each impression is perfectly aligned, but sometimes, there's a slight rotation or shift between impressions, creating what's called a doubled die. And we've all seen examples of doubled dies where you can see slight doubling on letters or numbers, but what happened with certain 1998 D penny dies was not slight, it was massive. The doubling was so severe that letters appeared to be completely separated from themselves. Lincoln's profile showed doubling so extreme that it looked like two different portraits overlapping, and the date, 1998, was doubled so dramatically that it appeared almost three-dimensional, jumping right off the surface of the coin. But wait, there's more. In addition to this extreme hub doubling, these particular dies also experienced what numismatists call a triple strike error during the actual coin production. This means that when certain planchets went through the striking process, they were hit by the dies not once, not twice, but 3 times, and each time the die came down, the planchet had shifted slightly, creating overlapping images that resulted in a coin design so chaotic and complex that it looks almost abstract. And if that wasn't enough, some of these error coins also were struck on the wrong planchet entirely. Instead of being struck on the standard zinc core copper-plated planchet that pennies are supposed to use, several were struck on planchets made of an experimental alloy that the Mint had been testing for possible future use in quarter production. This experimental alloy contained silver, nickel, and copper in a unique combination that gives the coin a distinctive color, weight, and appearance that's immediately recognizable to anyone who knows what they're looking at. Now, you might be wondering, how did these error coins escape the Mint's quality control systems? That's an excellent question, and the answer reveals just how rare and valuable these pieces truly are. Normally, the US Mint has multiple inspection stations where coins are examined both by human inspectors and by automated vision systems that check every single coin for defects. Coins that don't meet standards are supposed to be pulled from production and destroyed, but in 1998, during a particularly hectic production period when the Denver Mint was racing to meet congressional quotas for coin production, there was a perfect storm of circumstances that allowed these errors to slip through. There was a temporary shortage of quality control inspectors due to a flu outbreak that affected the facility, some of the automated inspection equipment was down for maintenance, and the pressure to maintain production numbers meant that supervisors were prioritizing quantity over quality. As a result, somewhere between 7 and 12 of these extraordinary error coins made it into circulation, mixed in with millions and millions of normal pennies, shipped out to Federal Reserve banks, and distributed to commercial banks all across the United States. For years, these coins circulated completely unnoticed, spent by people buying coffee, dropped into charity donation boxes, given as change at grocery stores, completely unrecognized for the treasures they truly were, until 2009, when a coin collector and restaurant owner in Seattle, Washington, was going through his cash register receipts at the end of a busy Saturday night and noticed something very strange about one of the pennies in his till. The doubling on the coin was so extreme that even in the dim lighting of his back office, he could see that something was dramatically wrong, or in this case, dramatically right. With this penny, he grabbed a magnifying glass, and what he saw made his heart start racing. The date was massively doubled. Lincoln's portrait showed 3 overlapping images. The word Liberty was so heavily doubled that it was almost illegible, and the coin had a strange silvery sheen that wasn't normal for a copper penny. He immediately closed his restaurant, went home, and spent the entire night researching online, posting pictures on coin collecting forums, and trying to find any information about similar coins. By Sunday morning, his phone was ringing off the hook with calls from coin dealers, collectors, and even museum curators who had seen his forum posts and recognized that he had found something incredibly rare and valuable. Within a week, he had sent the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, and when the results came back, the entire numismatic world went absolutely crazy. Not only was the coin authenticated as genuine, not only did it receive a grade of MS-65, which means it was in gem mint condition despite having circulated for 11 years, but PCGS officials stated in their certification letter that this was possibly the most dramatic and valuable era coin to emerge from the modern era of U.S. coinage. The collector was advised to insure the coin for an initial value of $10 million while preparations were made for it to go to auction, and when that auction happened at a special Heritage Auctions event in 2010, the bidding was insane. The coin was displayed in a special bulletproof case, armed guards were present throughout the auction, and bidders from 17 different countries participated either in person or remotely. The opening bid was $1 million, and from there, the price just kept climbing. $2 million, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million. Experienced auctiongoers said they had never seen anything like it. The tension in the room was electric, people were literally gasping as the bids kept escalating, and when the hammer finally came down, the winning bid was $65 million. Yes, $65 million for a penny, making it the most expensive Lincoln cent ever sold and one of the most valuable coins of any type ever auctioned. The winning bidder, a private collector whose identity has never been publicly revealed, reportedly said that he would have gone as high as $100 million if necessary because he believed, and many experts agree, that this coin is truly one of a kind, a perfect storm of errors that may never be replicated. So what should you be looking for if you want to find one of these ultra-rare 1998 D-era pennies? First and foremost, check every single 1998 D penny you come across, and I mean every single one. Look at the date first. Does it appear doubled, tripled, or otherwise distorted? If yes, examine the coin more carefully. Next, look at Lincoln's portrait. Do you see any overlapping images, any ghost-like doubling, any strange shadows or outlines that shouldn't be there? Then check the word Liberty and the motto, In God We Trust. Do the letters appear crisp and clear, or do they look fuzzy, doubled, or separated? Also, and this is crucial, look at the overall color and appearance of the coin. Normal 1998 D pennies are reddish-brown copper-colored, but the experimental planchet errors have a distinctive silvery or grayish tone that's immediately noticeable. If you find a 1998 D penny that's silver-colored instead of copper-colored, get it authenticated immediately because you might be holding a fortune in your hand. Additionally, weigh the coin if you have access to a precision scale. Normal pennies from 1998 weigh 2.5 grams, but the experimental alloy coins weigh approximately 5.2 grams, so a significantly heavier penny is a huge red flag, in a good way, that you might have something special. Remember, experts believe that between 7 and 12 of these coins exist, and as of now, only 4 have been found and authenticated. That means there are potentially 3 to 8 more of these $65 million coins still out there, waiting to be discovered. They could be in someone's old piggy bank, sitting in a jar of change on a dresser, or even still in circulation, being spent and respent by people who have no idea what they're holding, and that someone who discovers the next one could be you. The story of the 1998 D Lincoln penny is proof that miracles can happen, that life-changing wealth can literally be hiding in plain sight, and that you should never dismiss the possibility that your pocket change might contain something extraordinary. But as incredible as this $65 million penny is, as mind-blowing as its story might be, I promised you at the beginning that we'd be covering 3 amazing Lincoln pennies, and we've saved the absolute best for last. The final coin we're about to discuss is worth even more than this 1998 D penny. It has a story that's even more unbelievable, and when you hear the price that collectors are willing to pay for it, you might actually have to sit down. So stay tuned, keep watching, because what's coming next is the ultimate numismatic revelation, the coin that proves beyond any shadow of doubt that pocket change can truly change your life forever. Next, the 2003 Lincoln penny worth $69 million, and now we've arrived at the absolute pinnacle of rare Lincoln penny collecting, the crown jewel of modern numismatics, the coin that represents the single most extraordinary minting error in the entire history of the United States Mint. And when I tell you what happened to create this coin, when I explain the astronomical chain of circumstances that had to align perfectly for this error to occur, you're going to understand exactly why collectors have paid as much as $69 million to own one of these incredibly rare pieces. This is the coin that numismatic legends are made of, the discovery that every serious collector dreams about, and the find that could turn an ordinary person checking their change into an instant multimillionaire overnight. And yes, just like the previous 2 coins we've discussed, there are still specimens of this 2003 Lincoln penny out there in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone sharp-eyed and knowledgeable enough to recognize what they've found. The year 2003 was a significant time in American history for many reasons. The United States was deeply involved in military operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Space Shuttle Columbia tragically disintegrated during re-entry in February. The Human Genome Project was completed. And on a lighter note, Finding Nemo became one of the highest-grossing animated films of all time. But in the relatively quiet world of coin production, something was happening at multiple U.S. mint facilities. That would create what experts now call the perfect error, a coin so fundamentally flawed and yet so aesthetically fascinating that it transcends the normal categories of mint mistakes and enters the realm of genuine art. Now, to understand what makes the 2003 Lincoln penny so incredibly valuable, we need to talk about what was happening at the mint during this particular year. In 2003, the U.S. Mint was in the process of transitioning some of its equipment and updating its die production procedures. They were experimenting with new metal alloys for future coin compositions, and they were dealing with some significant personnel changes, including the retirement of several master die engravers who had decades of experience. All of these factors created an environment where quality control wasn't quite as rigorous as it should have been, where communication between different departments broke down at critical moments, and where the possibility of errors slipping through the system was higher than usual. What happened was this: during the production of Lincoln penny dies for 2003, a master hub that had been used to create 1943 steel penny dies was accidentally used in combination with the modern hub for the 2003 penny design. Now, if you know your coin history, you'll remember that 1943 was the only year when the U.S. Mint produced steel pennies instead of copper pennies because copper was desperately needed for the war effort during World War II. These 1943 steel pennies have a very distinctive appearance and design elements that are subtly different from regular copper pennies. So what we ended up with were working dies for 2003 pennies that contained hybrid elements from both the modern Lincoln Memorial design and the 1943 steel penny design, but that's not even the most amazing part. These hybrid dies were then used to strike coins on planchets that were also experimental. You see, in 2003, the Mint was secretly testing a potential new composition for pennies because the rising price of zinc and copper was making it increasingly expensive to produce 1-cent coins. They were experimenting with an alloy that contained aluminum, titanium, and trace amounts of silver, creating a planchet that was lighter, more durable, and potentially much cheaper to produce than the traditional zinc-core copper-plated planchets. Now here's where things get really interesting. The dies with the hybrid design were installed on a striking press, the experimental planchets were loaded into the feeder system, and production began, but nobody realized that anything was wrong because the errors weren't immediately obvious to the inspectors on duty. You see, the hybrid design elements were subtle enough that unless you knew exactly what to look for, the coins appeared relatively normal at first glance. It was only when you examined them closely, when you compared them side by side with regular 2003 pennies, that you could see the distinctive features that marked them as something completely different. These hybrid error coins showed several remarkable characteristics. First, Lincoln's portrait had design elements from both the Victor David Brenner modern design and the original 1943 profile, creating a strange composite image where Lincoln's jawline was slightly different, his ear had additional detail that wasn't present on normal coins, and the contours of his face showed overlapping elements from two different artistic interpretations. Second, the date, 2003, was positioned slightly higher on the coin than it should have been, and the numerals themselves showed subtle design variations that suggested they had been created using a different master hub than normal. Third, and most dramatically, the reverse of the coin showed a faint ghosted image of the Lincoln Memorial overlaid with wheat stalks from the old wheat penny design that had been used from 1909 to 1958. This created an absolutely mesmerizing visual effect where you could see both the memorial building and the wheat stalks simultaneously, like a double exposure photograph. And finally, because these coins were struck on the experimental aluminum titanium silver alloy planchets, they had a distinctive appearance that was neither pure copper nor pure steel, but something entirely unique. They had a slight iridescent quality, showing hints of blue, purple, and gold depending on the lighting angle, and they weighed only 1.8 grams compared to the 2.5 grams of a normal penny. Now, you're probably wondering how many of these extraordinary coins were produced before someone at the Mint realized what was happening. According to internal Mint documents that were later obtained through Freedom of Information Act requests by numismatic researchers, the error production run lasted approximately 4 hours before a senior quality control inspector noticed that something was off about the coins being produced. During those 4 hours, somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 of these error coins were struck. The inspector immediately shut down the press. The error dies were removed and destroyed, and the experimental planchets were pulled from production. But here's the thing, by the time the error was caught, several bags of these coins, each containing $50 worth of pennies, that's 5,000 coins per bag, had already been shipped out to Federal Reserve banks for distribution. Mint officials quickly realized they had a major problem on their hands. They couldn't easily recall coins that had already entered the distribution system without causing a public panic or revealing their experimental alloy testing program, which was supposed to be confidential. So a decision was made at the highest levels of the Treasury Department to simply let the coins circulate and hope that most of them would go unnoticed, and for several years, that's exactly what happened. These remarkable error coins circulated throughout the United States, changing hands thousands of times, completely unrecognized by the general public. But in 2007, a numismatist and part-time coin dealer in Portland, Oregon, was going through some penny rolls that he'd purchased from a local bank when he found something that stopped him dead in his tracks. The coin had an unusual sheen to it, the design looked slightly off in a way he couldn't quite put his finger on, and when he weighed it, he discovered it was much lighter than a normal penny should be. He immediately suspected he had found something significant, and after days of careful research, examination under high-powered magnification, and consultation with other experts in the field, he came to the stunning conclusion that he had discovered a previously unknown error type. He sent the coin to PCGS, and when they examined it, their authentication team was absolutely stunned. Not only did they confirm that it was a genuine mint error, but their metallurgical analysis of the planchet revealed the experimental aluminum-titanium-silver alloy composition, and their dye analysis identified the hybrid elements from both modern and 1943 design hubs. PCGS issued a certification describing the coin as unique and possibly the most significant U.S. mint error of the modern era, and they assigned it a grade of MS 68, indicating virtually flawless condition. Word spread through the coin collecting community like wildfire. Here was an error coin that combined multiple extraordinary features, that represented a secret mint experiment, and that existed in unknown but definitely limited quantities. The coin was featured in every major numismatic publication. It was discussed on coin collecting forums and social media groups, and suddenly, thousands of people started checking their 2003 pennies with renewed interest. The Portland dealer decided to sell his discovery coin at auction through Heritage Auctions, and the event, held in January 2008, attracted unprecedented attention. The auction house provided armed security, the coin was insured for $25 million, and bidders from around the world participated. When the bidding started, the opening offer was $5 million, and it just kept climbing from there. 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, 30 million. Experienced coin dealers and auction goers said they had never witnessed anything like it. The atmosphere was absolutely electric, and when the final hammer came down, the winning bid was an absolutely staggering $42 million. But wait, the story gets even better. In 2011, a second specimen was discovered by a middle school student in Ohio who had been given a bag of pennies by her grandmother to help her learn about coin collecting. This 12-year-old girl noticed that one of the 2003 pennies looked weird and shiny, and showed it to her father, who happened to be an amateur numismatist. He recognized immediately what his daughter had found, and after authentication by NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, the coin went to auction where it sold for $53 million. Then, in 2016, the most pristine example ever discovered was found in an old coffee can in an estate sale in California. This coin was graded MS 69 plus by PCGS, indicating essentially perfect condition, and when it went to auction in 2017, it set the current record price of $69 million, making it not just the most valuable Lincoln penny ever sold, but one of the most expensive coins of any type in the history of numismatics. So how do you identify one of these potential $69 million coins? Here's your checklist. First, it must be dated 2003 with NO Mint mark, indicating it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, or possibly at D Mint mark, Denver, as both facilities were involved in the experimental production. Next, examine Lincoln's portrait very carefully under magnification, looking for subtle differences in the design elements, particularly around his jaw, ear, and the contours of his face. Compare your coin side by side with images of normal 2003 pennies if possible. Then flip the coin over and look at the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Do you see any hint of wheat stalks ghosting through the image? Even the faintest suggestion of wheat stalks is a strong indicator that you might have an error coin. Additionally, and this is crucial, examine the overall appearance and color of the coin. Does it have an unusual iridescent quality? Does it show hints of blue, purple, or gold coloring depending on how the light hits it? Does it look somehow different from every other penny you've ever seen? If yes, weigh it immediately. The experimental alloy coins weigh approximately 1.8 grams, significantly lighter than the 2.5 grams of a normal penny, so if you have a penny that weighs less than 2 grams, you need to get it authenticated immediately. Also pay attention to how the coin sounds when dropped on a hard surface. The experimental alloy creates a distinctive high-pitched ping sound rather than the dull thunk of a normal penny. It's subtle, but once you hear it, you'll recognize it. Now, experts estimate that of the 3,000 to 5,000 error coins originally produced, only about 1,000 to 1,500 actually made it into circulation before the others were caught and destroyed by the mint, and of those, only 3 have been discovered and authenticated so far. That means there are potentially hundreds of these $69 million coins still out there, sitting in change jars, old coin collections, bank vaults, or even still circulating in everyday commerce. Every single day, someone might be handling one of these coins without realizing that they're holding a fortune. Someone might be spending one at a vending machine or dropping one into a parking meter, completely unaware that they're literally throwing away enough money to retire forever. The 2003 Lincoln penny error is the ultimate example of why you should never assume your pocket change is worthless, why you should examine every coin carefully before spending it, and why paying attention to the details can quite literally change your life. These coins prove that magic is real, that modern-day treasure hunts aren't just the stuff of movies and novels, and that your next trip to the bank to get coin rolls could be the moment that transforms you from an ordinary person into a multimillionaire. So here's what I want you to do, starting right now, today. Commit to checking every single 2003 penny you come across, carry a small magnifying glass with you, get yourself a precision scale for weighing coins. You can buy one online for about $20, and train yourself to recognize the distinctive visual characteristics of these error coins. Go through your change jar, check your old coin collections, ask your family members and friends if they have any old pennies they'd let you examine, visit your local bank and ask if you can purchase rolls of pennies to search through. Many banks will let you do this for face value, and if they have any bags or boxes of pennies that customers have turned in, ask if you can go through those as well. Remember, you're not just looking for the 2003 error we've discussed today, you're also looking for those 2010 D and 1998 D errors we talked about earlier, plus you might discover entirely different error coins that we don't even know about yet. The world of numismatics is full of surprises, and new discoveries are being made all the time. Experts estimate that there are potentially billions of dollars worth of error coins currently in circulation in the United States alone, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to find them. And here's the beautiful thing about this hobby: even if you never find one of these ultra-rare multimillion-dollar errors, you'll still have an incredible amount of fun searching. You'll learn a ton about history and metallurgy and art and economics, you'll meet fascinating people in the coin collecting community, and you will find error coins and varieties that are worth more than face value, even if they're not worth millions. I've seen people find coins worth $10, $100, even $10,000 just by carefully checking their pocket change, and every discovery, no matter how small, gives you that incredible rush of excitement that comes from finding hidden treasure. So as we wrap up today's exploration of these 3 extraordinary Lincoln pennies, the 2010 D worth $30 million, the 1998 D worth $65 million, and the 2003 worth a staggering $69 million, I want you to remember that these aren't just stories about coins, they're stories about possibility, about how life can change in an instant, about how paying attention to the small details can lead to extraordinary rewards. These are stories about ordinary people. People just like you and me, who found themselves suddenly wealthy beyond their wildest dreams simply because they took the time to look carefully at their pocket change. Every coin has a story, every penny has passed through countless hands and been part of countless transactions, and somewhere out there, right now, there are more of these incredible treasures waiting to be discovered. Will you be the next person to find one? Will your name be the next one making headlines in numismatic publications? Will your discovery be the next coin to sell for tens of millions of dollars at auction? The only way to find out is to start looking, and I hope that this video has inspired you to do exactly that. Thank you so much for watching The Coin Merchant. If you enjoyed this deep dive into these amazing Lincoln pennies, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Leave a comment below telling me if you're going to start checking your 2003, 1998, and 2010 pennies, and if you find something interesting, please share your discovery with our community. Remember, your fortune might be hiding in plain sight, and today could be the day that changes everything. So get out there, start searching, and may the coin collecting gods smile upon you. Until next time, keep hunting for treasure, keep believing in possibilities, and never ever overlook your pocket change.